Put a finger down if you made a vision board in January and it's almost halfway through the year and you haven't accomplished most of the things on that vision board. It's all right. Don't be ashamed. I have come to the realization that there is only one reason why you will not achieve any goal that you set this year. There's only literally one reason, and that is your identity. It's not your productivity. It's not your discipline. It's not your consistency. I mean, those things have a place too. But if you can wrap your mind around the identity, then all of those things will fall into place and your goals, every single one of them, will be accomplished before the end of 2025. It's not too late. So watch this video and I'm going to give you the steps that you need to take today if you still want to have the chance to accomplish everything that you put on that vision board, your journal, on that resolution list for 2025. Hello and welcome back. My name is Juditha and I am your mindset coach and your dream life advocate. In this space, we talk about all the things that matter when you're creating your dream life, from your fears to your insecurities, to your comfort zone, to your identity, to your brain, all the things that matter, because I'm trying to do the same thing. So trust me when I say that I get it. I've been where you are and sometimes I'm still there. Okay. So today, like I said, we are going to talk about the one thing that is stopping you from accomplishing every single goal. Like, I don't care how big the goal is. I don't care how small it is. This is the one thing. Okay. And it's not talked about enough, because if you can change this, you would knock those goals out like there's no tomorrow. Okay, so let's get started. So the first thing I want you to understand is, what is identity, just so we're on the same page. So your identity is the role that you agreed to play. It's who you see yourself as currently, right? And it always changes. But if you've ever used the words, that's just how I am, this is just what I do, this is how I react, that is you staying within the box that you've placed yourself in as far as your identity goes. So when you identify as being a certain type of person, you will not act outside of who you believe that you currently are. If you believe that you are smart, 9 times out of 10, your actions are going to reflect that. Your thoughts are going to reflect that. You're going to do what you think a smart person does, right? If you believe that you are someone who is irresponsible with money, your actions are going to reflect that. Your thoughts are going to reflect that. Whoever you currently believe that you are, worthy, unworthy, dumb, smart, successful, poor, whatever it is that you currently attribute to your identity, that is how you're going to show up in the world, okay? And that is why it's important to change your identity, because when you change the way you see yourself, your actions have to change. When you start to see yourself as someone who makes millions of dollars, your actions will change, because your thoughts are going to change. And when your thoughts change, your feelings change. And when your feelings change, that is what changes your actions. If you place yourself within a certain box of being a certain type of person, you won't be able to step outside of that box. Not without a fight. Who you currently are, your brain is wired to be this version of you. So that's why when you set goals that require you to leave your comfort zone, when you set goals to do things like, let's say you have a goal to lose weight and you have not worked out a day in your life up to this point, it's hard to do it because you don't have the identity of someone who works out. You don't have the identity of someone who does hard things. You don't have the identity of someone who wakes up early, right? Or someone who goes to work out after work and goes to the gym after work. You don't have that identity, and that's what makes your goals hard. So your identity, look at it as your internal default setting. It's who you will always fall back on. It's what you will always fall back on in every circumstances, unless you are consciously trying to rewire and change it. I remember when I graduated from college, I was so comfortable in the identity of a college student that when I was tossed into the real world and I now had to go on interviews like for a big girl job, my identity as a college student and my identity as like a grown ass woman was just like, they were not in alignment. Like, I felt so uncomfortable going on these interviews, and it not only was it because of my identity, but it was also because I wasn't truly walking in my purpose. I wasn't truly doing what my heart and soul desired for me to do. I was just doing what I thought I had to do. You know, this is what everybody does. So every interview I went on, it just felt like soul sucking. It just didn't feel good. And then when I decided, you know what, I actually want to be an entrepreneur. I don't want to work for someone for the rest of my life. I had the hardest time taking consistent action, even though where I was uncomfortable, even though I wanted more money, even though I wanted freedom, even though I wanted to be my own boss. those desires were not stronger than my current identity as someone who works a 9 to 5, right? My current identity as someone who does not have the discipline to work on her business when she doesn't feel like it. I just did not have that identity. So what I had to do, I looked up successful people. I would read books. I would listen to podcasts. I would watch YouTube videos, and I learned to think, act, and be an entrepreneur. And all I did was I started to mimic those behaviors. I started to try to adapt those thoughts. I started to try to take those actions. I changed up my whole morning routine because I'm like, hold on. Successful people usually do something for their mind, their body, and their spirit in the morning. I literally just started to act the part until it became who I am. And now I cannot go a day without doing my morning routine, because for me, it sets me up to have a really good, productive day. So I just acted like the person I wanted to become until I became that person. And now I started my business. I'm consistent at it, even on the days when I don't feel like working, even on the days when I don't feel like recording. I still show up because this is my identity. This is just who I am. It's not a matter of what I feel like doing. It's just a matter of what I do, because I'm an entrepreneur, right? I get paid to show up in this way. I get paid. Women pay me to help them. So that also helps solidify my identity as a coach, as an entrepreneur. But none of that would be possible if I did not first shift my identity. So this is where you begin. This is where the work starts. The equation that I want you to remember is this: your goal plus your identity equals your desired outcome. Okay, that is how you get to where you want to be. So let's say your goal is to lose weight. Your identity, this is where you have to figure out, who do I have to become? You might have to become someone who gets up earlier. You might have to become someone who learns how to do hard things. You might have to become someone who doesn't eat out when your friends want to go out. Write down, you would write this down, everything that is required of you when you set that goal, and then equals your desired outcome, which is losing the weight and working out consistently. So that is the equation I want you to remember. Now let's actually get into the steps that you're going to take. The first thing is to stop setting goals without first checking the identity behind them. Because that, like I said, that is why you don't accomplish your goals. You weren't prepared to become the person that could achieve that thing that you set out to do. I set a goal this year to go live at least once a month on Instagram. I have gone live exactly 0 times this year. And that's because I still have a fear of like being visible. And that's what this showed me. My inability to just go live on the days that I say I'm going to go live. It shows me that I still have a limiting belief. I still have work to do in that department. Even though I show up on here, even though I show up on Instagram, even though I show up online in so many different ways, for some reason, there is just something within me that is still holding me back. I am just not willing to become the version of myself who is willing to be seen when she doesn't feel prepared, who is willing to be seen when she doesn't know what to say, right? I just have not been able to evolve into that identity yet, but I am working on it, okay? This is what I mean by don't set goals unless you check the identity behind them. Who am I going to have to become? What is she going to have to do? How is she going to have to show up? What is she going to have to think? How uncomfortable is she going to have to get? Because once you know ahead of time, oh, this is what this goal requires, then I want you to decide, is this a goal that I actually want to stick with? Is this a goal that I'm actually ready to achieve? And be honest with yourself. This is a judgment-free zone, okay? If you're not ready, then you're not ready. That means there's more work to be done. And that's where you start. You start with the work. If you know that you are not ready to become that version of you, you start with doing the work to evolve into that version of you, okay? But before you set goals, check the identity behind them and make sure you are willing to become that person. That is how you save yourself from a lot of disappointment and from feeling bad and from feeling like you're just not doing the things that you say you're gonna do. The second thing is, once you decided, you know what, this goal, it is a stretch. However, I am willing to become her. I am willing to do whatever it takes to get to that goal. That's fine. This means at this point, quitting is no longer an option. It's out the door. Now you commit to that identity. This is where you do your research. If you are unsure how you need to be acting, what you need to be thinking, what you need to be doing, this is where you do your research. For me, I told you, I went on YouTube and I studied the lives of entrepreneurs who I consider to be successful, and I just mimicked and did what they did. If you have goals, like I said, they can be big, they can be small. If your goal is to work out more, get on YouTube and watch people who work out consistently. How do they think? How do they act? How do they make themselves do the things even when they don't feel like it? Study the people who are already in positions that you want to be in. If you happen to have somebody in your life who is doing something that you want to do, even better, you get to study it up close and personal. Ask them, pick their brain. But this is where you actually do your research, choose who you're becoming, and then you start to mimic the behavior slowly but surely. You don't have to do it all at once. You don't have to like say, alrighty, I need to have a morning routine. I need to read 12 books. I need to do this. I need to do that. I need to start the business. No, like do it slowly. Once you have your list, you get to work on that list one by one until it becomes just who you are now. Choose who you need to become and then commit to becoming that person. No matter how many times you have to remind yourself, no matter how many times your old identity tries to pull you back, keep going. Be consistent. Again, you are rewiring your brain. You've been this version of you for so long, so do not expect to change overnight. Give yourself the grace, give yourself the time to undo years of bad habits, years of unhelpful thinking, years of unconscious behaviors. It takes time, okay? It might not have to take you years to undo it because you're conscious of it. However long it takes is however long it takes. Like I said, once you commit, quitting is no longer an option, baby. We are here for the long run. So get comfortable and know that it will feel unnatural at first. That is normal. That is okay. Give yourself the time. Give yourself the grace. Eventually, what felt like pretending will just become who you are. And another side note that I want to add to this is when you are around people who are accustomed to the old version of you and you're trying to grow into this newer, improved version of you, people will try to remind you of who you used to be. And in the beginning, when your identity is still shaky and you're still in the middle of like merging and shifting, it is going to be easy to want to go back to the old you. But this is where the work comes in, right? You can either A, distance yourself from people who are pulling you back, or you can B, learn how to still be that person and allow those people around you to adjust. I know for me, when I started to change, I started to think in a way that nobody in my family thinks. I started to say things like manifest your life and do this and mind this and mindset that and identity this. These are things that I've never heard anyone in my family talk about. Creating your dream life, like, no, they don't do that in my family. We just work to live. So when I started talking the way that I talk and thinking the way that I think and being conscious of like the products I use and the foods that I eat, this was different. And at first, my family for sure tried to remind me, and I don't think they were doing it on purpose, but they know you. They like for me, my family know me. They've known me my whole life. So of course, when I start to change, it's gonna seem odd to them, right? And they're gonna want to treat me like how they would treat the old version of me. So what you have to do is you have to stand very firm in who you are now, and you have to allow the people who love you or just who are always around you, allow them to adjust. And those that don't adjust, they were never meant to be around this improved version of you, because this improved version of you is vibrating at a certain frequency and carries a certain energy. And when things are below that energy and below that frequency, they tend to repel, okay? Because like attracts like. So when you aren't resonating on that same frequency anymore of the people you used to hang around, they will fall off, and just allow it to happen naturally. Just remember that as you're changing, if you need to get away and you need to spend time alone because the people around you are pulling you back and reminding you over and over of who you used to be, take time and take distance if you need it, okay? But this is not as an excuse to not grow. Even if you can't escape your environment, that's okay. It might be a little bit more challenging, but it is not impossible. All right, now the third thing that you're going to do is stop asking, what do I do? And start asking, who am I being? Who do I need to become? Because those are the questions that's going to move you forward when you get stuck. One of the hardest things that happens when you have goals is sometimes you get stuck because you want to know how am I going to do this? How am I going to accomplish this? And when your brain doesn't have an immediate answer, that's when you feel defeated, right? That's when you end up feeling like, you know what? There's nothing I can do here. That's when you procrastinate and you overthink. But the right question is not how. In this stage where you are trying to become that version of you who can accomplish the things that you set out to accomplish, the question that you should always ask yourself is, who am I being, or who do I need to be? Who do I need to become? And I promise you, when you start to act as if you are that person, the ideas come. And it's not woo-woo, it's not magic, it's scientific, okay? There is something in your brain called the reticular activating system. And the way that I like to look at it, I like to think of it as like the TSA for your brain. You know how TSA will only allow certain things to get through, and if it's not on the list, it just cannot get through. That is how that part of your brain works. It filters through, like, out of the millions of information that you are processing in a day, it is only going to allow certain things to hit you and to resonate with you. And the way that it chooses what those things are is based on what you are already focused on. So let's say you're already focused on lack. You're focused on unworthiness. You're focused on not being able to achieve your goals. Your reticular activating system, or your RAS for short, it will continue to bring you evidence in your reality that prove to you that you are unworthy, that you can't do it, that you will fail. Not because it's true, but because it's going to filter reality through whatever lens you currently have on. So when you start asking the right questions, who do I need to be? And then you start showing up as that person. You wake up a little earlier, you read more, you watch YouTube videos, you find inspiration, you're learning more. Your brain starts to filter reality differently. It starts to filter reality through the identity of the version of you who has already accomplished the goal. So now you start to see solutions where they were always there, but now you are actually letting them into your reality. You start to see opportunities that were probably always there, but now you're able to see them. So when you start to ask the right questions, you open up your reticular activating system in a way to where it starts to filter reality in a way that favors the outcome. It favors the reality that you're actually trying to create. Okay, and there's more than just your reticular activating system at work. There's also confirmation bias, where your brain is going to always confirm what you believe to be true. It happens to all of us. That's why some people like Trump, some people like Hillary, and no matter what you say about each side, they are willing to go to war for the person that they like. It's because their confirmation bias will keep bringing them information that proves to them that they are right. And anything that might contradict what they believe, their brain is going to disregard it. Every goal that you have, if you don't accomplish it this year, don't beat up on yourself. However, just know it's because you weren't willing to become that version of you who can do it. You weren't willing to do what she needed to do. You weren't willing to think what she needed to think. You weren't willing to be out of your comfort zone as much as she needed to be. Something else to keep in mind is you have the dream, which means that version of you is in there. It's in you. You just have to unlock it. Okay, it's there. You would not have the dream if you did not have the ability to create it. This is a belief that I stand firm on. I believe that your imagination is just a glimpse into the life that you actually have the ability to create. But not everyone is willing to actually get uncomfortable. Not everyone is willing to shift their identity until they become the version of themselves who can do it. And this is where the work is, okay? Look at your vision board. Think about where you are compared to where you need to be to accomplish the things on that vision board. And don't ask yourself, what do I need to do to get there? Ask yourself, who do I need to become? And compare it to who you've been being so you can understand the gap between where you are and who you need to become in order to get to where you want to be. Okay, that's it for today. I hope this was helpful. And ladies, if you want help rewiring your identity, if you want help stepping into the version of you who can literally be, do, or have anything that you say you want, I want you to join the REWIRE Society. It is my mindset community for women. Okay, I'm going to leave the link in the description box. Put your name on the wait list, and as soon as the first course is available, you will have exclusive access so that you can start to experience what it's going to be like to be in a community of women who are literally creating their dream life. The link will be in the description box. Put your name on the wait list. I will see you guys on the next video.